A big round of applause for Rachel.
Woo!
So we'll bring up the final performer of the evening.
Nope, there's one after me.
Oh, there's one.
Yep,
Okay.
one more performer.
Oh, I'm gonna have to bring up the MC then. I thought I'd announce him. So Ski.
Oh, yeah!
So I had so much God talk here tonight. A lot of people talking about God for some reason. I totally understand, because when autumn comes, that used to be a big thing for me. Every autumn at the old artist quarter where we were, autumn is when I'd have all of my great rants about religion. And I can only find one of them in my notes right now. But I'm going to brush that one off. I'm going to try to do it. No promises. This is just, I thought would be appropriate given what everyone else was saying. This is called Justice. A boy at home, 7 years old, goes into the kitchen, he looks around and he sees a cookie jar up on the shelf. He moves the chair over, he climbs on top, lifts the top off the cookie jar, puts it down, fumbles around inside, grabs a cookie, takes it, eats it. And while he's eating, his mom comes in the room, smiles and says, "That's stealing, come on." She takes him out back, and after reminding him that stealing is wrong, she cuts off his arms. Now, obviously, this isn't true. But the point is, nobody would think this was right. There's no time when people would say, for something as trivial as stealing a cookie, you would remove somebody's hands, unless of all your own child's hands. He's a child. That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for the perpetrator. It's not appropriate for their mental development. But most importantly, it's not appropriate to the crime. That type of punishment does not fit the crime, and everyone would be outraged. There would be TV reports, there'd probably be a bunch of bands that got together to raise money to have his hands surgically reattached or prosthetics made. That's the first thing about justice. I'm going to, mentally, I like wrapping these up in little balls and throwing them up in the air, so I'm going to put that one up there for right now. How about another situation? A married couple. In love at the beginning, but over the years things have gotten colder. At some point, one of them cheats. It's found out, there's a lot of hurt, a lot of acrimony, back and forth. Eventually they go to court. The divorce judge says, "I grant you divorce, and to the spouse who cheated, you will be shocked with a painful shock once every 5 hours for 5 minutes. And this will go on for the next 6 years, which is how long we believe it will take before the pain of your adultery is removed from your spouse." And that brings us to the second point. That's not right either. The purpose of the courts is not to mete out revenge. It's not justice if it's revenge. There's the second one. Throw that up there. So, why do we even care about justice as a thing? What does that mean to us? What do we want to accomplish with it? Well, when we hand out like fines for something, you drive a little bit fast, you park in the wrong place, what we're trying to do is provide a small punishment that gives negative reinforcement, say, don't do this. This has repercussions. But we try to make them fitting. Obviously, there's a lot of places where that fails, like in Ferguson, where they were basically milking the populace in order to feed the government through all kinds of just crazy-ass laws. But the idea behind them is a small amount of negative reinforcement will help you become a better person, a more law-abiding person. Now that's just for fines. It can get worse. You can go to jail for some crimes. And the point of that is to remove you from society. There's something you've done. Not only is it negative reinforcement, we're going to hurt you in some way, in this case taking you away from the life that you're comfortable with. And we're going to put you in jail, which is a very uncomfortable, very strange and alien place. So it's more negative reinforcement, but also it's removing you from society. Whatever you have done has reached the point where they feel a more dramatic punishment is in order, and maybe it's time to kind of pull you away from the rest of society so you can think about how things are working. Now, the final punishment that we do in some places is the death penalty. At that point, we've decided that it is not worth trying to cure you or rehabilitate you. There's nothing that society can do. You are simply too dangerous and we're going to kill you. Now, with the exception of that last punishment, all the other ones are meant to reform a person. So one of the key ideas of justice is to make changes in how people behave, to make them better citizens and whatever that means, but to make them more able to work with other people, to obey the rules that we've decided on. So there's another thing. Recidivism, the chance to rehabilitate yourself and to become a better person, a better part of society. So I have one more scenario for you, and then we're going to get on to the main thrust of this. Let's say that 7-year-old is stealing cookies, and every time he goes in the kitchen, he finds a cookie jar, and he goes in the cookie jar and he grabs a cookie. And every time he does this, his sister looks at him and says, I'm telling Mom, you're going to be in so much trouble. And this goes on for year after year after year. And 20 years later, he's coming back from someplace, he stops by home, visits Mom, and while he's in the kitchen, he reaches in that cookie jar, grabs another cookie, and he hears a clucking behind him. He turns around, and there's his dad with a shotgun. He's like, you know, stealing's wrong, son. And he kills him. Now, this may have been wrong. The stealing of cookies may have been wrong. Stealing might be a crime in some sense. But, again, this is inappropriate. And one of the reasons this is inappropriate this time is because of the timeliness of it. You can't punish somebody for something that they've been doing all this time and then expect it's an inconsistent form of justice. You can't punish someone for something they did long ago. We believe that people change. But even more than that, it just doesn't make the connections that you want. If your dog's shitting in the living room, you don't spank him a week later. You grab him right then and say, this is a bad thing. It's the same thing in humans. So we have these ideas that justice must be appropriate to the crime and hopefully somewhat appropriate to the age and the mental capacity of the people, the perpetrators. We believe that justice is not revenge. We believe that justice should be focused about rehabilitating when possible. We believe that justice should be about protecting society from the worst that these people have to offer whenever possible. And finally, we reserve things like death penalty. We reserve things like death penalty to remove people who we believe are too dangerous to be around other people. We believe that their existence would actually hurt more people than it's worth keeping them around. We're willing to commit the crime of killing them to keep them from their crimes. And finally, it has to be timely. You can't spend years not doing anything about it and then finally decide that you're going to exact justice. So, with these things in mind, with these concepts in mind, I'd like to talk about hell. The concept of hell, as it's believed by some people today, is one that is eternal, it is torturous, there is no redemption from it, and it occurs after you are dead. If we take this idea of hell and compare it to the things that we consider justice in this world, it fails miserably. It's not timely. It occurs after you are dead, depending on your beliefs, long after you're dead. It's not appropriate to the crime. It's eternal. There is no crime that is worth an eternal punishment. None. At some point, millions, hundreds of billions of years in the future, even the most hard-hearted Jew would go to Hitler and say, or go to God and say, you've got to let Hitler out of hell. He's paid his dues. It's enough. It's not appropriate to our knowledge. In many ways, compared to God, we are like children. We're not omnipotent. We're not omniscient. We are not omnibenevolent. We have all kinds of different things pulling on us. Urges, societies, and rules, and situations, and disasters. These things change what we consider to be lawful and unlawful. So, by all of these comparisons, the very concept of hell is abhorrent. Just the idea that some God would, as an example, take a Native American whose tribe was stolen by a very, very Christian nation at the time, forced to travel halfway across the country, losing thousands of his brothers and sisters and cousins on the road. resettle in a land that is absolutely nothing like where they grew up in, have their language stolen from them by Jesuits who wash their mouths out with soap, the children's mouth out with soap every time that they used words in their native language. For crimes such as not believing in the same God that allowed that, you would suffer in hell for all eternity. Now, I chose kind of a hardcore example there. Maybe you think that maybe doesn't deserve hell, but what about just the person who's a casual believer, maybe a casual disbeliever, or somebody who has questions? Is that really worth an eternity of hell? Is that any more just? It's more than any other single theological point in Christianity and Judaism doesn't actually have hell, but Islam. These are the things. This is the one single sticking point that bugs me more than anything else. The idea that an all-good, all-loving God would allow the creation, would allow the existence of something even remotely similar to hell. This is one reason why I don't call myself a Christian. And it's one reason why I don't believe people who say that they believe in a merciful and just God, and yet also believe